What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another discussion video. Today, we've got an interesting topic with Bandai Namco and how they're doing on the Nintendo Switch. How it can be frustrating for some, but it's understandable when you go back and look at some of the history. So online, I've heard quite a number of you guys be upset with Bandai Namco's, I would say, output on the Switch when it comes to timeliness. Now, they do have a lot of games on the platform. There are a number of franchises. We got Naruto, we got Dragon Ball Z, we got Sword Art Online, we've got Ni no Kuni, we've got God Eater, we've got some of the Tales games, actually only one of the Tales games. There's missing some of the other ones, but we do have Tales of Vesperia on there. So overall, it's been a lot better this time around with the Nintendo Switch than what it was with the Wii U, for example. But before we get into all of this, please make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe if you do enjoy daily gaming content every single day on the channel and also live streams. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the topic here, because recently we've been discussing, at least on Twitter, there's been some chatter about what's going on with Scarlet Nexus. You know, that's the really cool action RPG, very Astral Chain-ish looking, takes a lot of elements that you've seen from other games, kind of combines them together, even like Persona or Social Link type of elements and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. I actually really like Scarlet Nexus myself. It's just that I've been overloaded with games. I'm still playing Mass Effect Trilogy, obviously that game, you know, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. That game is taking up so much time. I am on the last game though. If I wasn't playing that, I'd probably have picked up Scarlet Nexus. I'm still playing Tony Hawk, I'm still playing Mario Golf. I mean, there's just a bunch of games that came out at this time, so I haven't had the chance to really dive into it more, but I've played the demo quite a bit, and I think that the game is really solid. But a lot of you guys were saying, well, you know, with the sales so far, how it's looking. Now, this isn't a confirmation or anything like that, but based on how the sales are looking, it does seem like the game is underperforming just a bit, not really showing up anywhere on the Xbox charts when it comes to Amazon or the Famitsu sales or pretty much anywhere, and on the digital chart it's not even #1 despite it just coming out. So people were saying, oh well, if it would have been on the Switch, I would have bought the game. Whatever the case is, it's doing a bit better on PlayStation, but it still debuted underneath, I think, like 33,000 units physical in Japan, so that's not necessarily the best start either. I think Astral Chain did do better on the Nintendo Switch a number of years ago, in Japan starting out at least. But once again, that's not a confirmation that the game is selling terrible or anything. I'm just seeing it in terms of how I usually track the sales numbers and what's going on, and it doesn't seem like it's off to too hot of a start. That could be because a variety of different things, but either way, people were upset that it wasn't on the Nintendo Switch. Now, also, you have games like Code Vein, which came out a couple years ago too, and that still isn't on the Nintendo Switch as well. Also, the upcoming Tales of Arise is also not on the Nintendo Switch. So some people, or at least not at this point, so some people are saying, what's going on with Bandai Namco? Why are all these cool looking action RPGs, cool looking RPGs that would do well on the Nintendo Switch, because a lot of gamers like to play games like that on the Switch. They have sold well over the course of the Switch generation. Why aren't these games coming over? You know, the Ys, Lacrimosa of Dana, Ys 9, all those games have done well. Some of the Nippon Ichi software stuff. So other developers that have been supporting the system with these type of Japanese RPGs have been doing well, but Bandai Namco is not there, at least not day and date. So it's frustrating some people that the ports are late, and also that the ports are full price as well, on top of them being late when it comes to a multi-platform game. So let's get into this a little bit, because it goes all the way back to when the Nintendo Switch actually first was getting going, and Bandai Namco, even before then, made a very critical mistake. They made a very critical mistake, and they did not invest in making sure that they can do Nintendo Switch development as efficiently as possible. They weren't able to do that. Now, people gave Capcom a lot of crap at the beginning of the generation, because they're the ones who actually said, hey, Nintendo, you need to put more RAM in the system. There needs to be a couple different things that you need to do here. And people were like, well, where's all the games? All we're getting is ports. But little did you guys know that it takes time to create big games on the Nintendo Switch. And Capcom was actually planning with their RE engine with internal development for multiple games. We saw now with Monster Hunter Rise, that is internally developed from the main Capcom team with Monster Hunter. We saw with Monster Hunter Stories 2, internally developed with the RE engine built for the Switch. So now you're getting these phenomenal experiences built for the platform and people are happy. Whereas Bandai Namco, although they mainly use Unreal Engine 4, did not put that time and effort to learning in terms of what the Switch can do and making sure that they adapted beforehand. Now, and how do I know this? Well, Bandai Namco actually admitted this themselves. The president of the company back 4 years ago said this about the Nintendo Switch and kind of how things were doing, because they put out some games on there, a number of different games, and those games did well from what they were expecting. So here's what they had to say when it comes to future support. This was, remember, back in 2017, near the end of the year. Bandai Namco's president Mitsuaki Taguchi had this to say: "We have put 3 games out on the Nintendo Switch so far and all of them are doing well. It's a shame, but we didn't think the Switch would be accepted this fast." So essentially what he was trying to say here, I think he put that kind of lightly. I don't want to mince his words or put words in his mouth, but he said he didn't think the Switch would be accepted this fast. Maybe he thought it was going to be like another Nintendo 3DS, where things kind of took a little bit of time to get going, right, with the Nintendo 3DS, because of the price at the launch and also because of the competition. Whatever the case is, 3DS definitely had a little bit of a struggle getting going, so maybe he thought that. Obviously, he was looking at the Wii U as well, and the Wii U system didn't really do that well. Bandai Namco didn't really put many things on the Wii U at all. So essentially, he's saying here that they didn't think it was going to be successful like it was, and they weren't planned for it. He even said that's a shame, because if he knew that it was going to blow up like it did, he probably would have put more time, effort, and resources allocating that to make sure that they have Switch development up to speed, to make sure that they know exactly what they're doing and not just putting out stuff at the beginning, which was like Namco Museum. They put out One Piece Unlimited World Red or Unlimited World R. They put out Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and of course Pokken Tournament with Nintendo there and the Pokemon Company. But I mean, to me, it just goes to show you that, yeah, like the developers who thought the Switch was going to be successful were there, you know, for the most part. But there wasn't a lot of them, and Bandai Namco was one of them. So while these late full-price ports like Dragon Ball Kakarot, that's coming out this year, in addition to Ni no Kuni 2 finally coming on the Switch, while it's frustrating that these are taking so long to come out and they're also full price, it's understandable because they didn't see this as a success. So they're behind. They started porting all sorts of stuff after the Switch started taking off. We got all the Naruto games, the trilogy plus Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, Dragon Ball Fighters, and now Dragon Ball Kakarot is coming out too. So they started putting out more stuff as they saw that the Switch was being more successful. They got Tales of Vesperia up to speed on there as well. They got the Sword Art Online games on there. They got even like Fatal Bullet, stuff like that. So they did start putting out more and more once they realized their mistake. But once again, they were already behind. So what does this leave for the future of Bandai Namco? When could we see stuff like Scarlet Nexus? When can we see stuff like Tales of Arise? When can we see Code Vein? When are these games possibly going to come to Nintendo Switch? Well, I would say probably within the next couple years. We saw a lot of the games like Ni no Kuni 2, that was a game from 2018, so it's finally coming out now. At this point, it has all the DLC. They had to optimize it. It looks like it's running pretty good. And then of course Dragon Ball Kakarot, which is definitely a huge port for them to get that big Unreal Engine 4 game. It's kind of like open worldish, open end game on the Nintendo Switch, so that's coming over this year as well. I'm not as confident in how that's going to run based on the footage that we've seen so far, but I'm guessing that it won't be too bad when it comes down to it. So we do have those on the Nintendo Switch, and those should satisfy some gamers out there that are into Bandai Namco's games. But I would say for sure, not having stuff like Scarlet Nexus at launch on the Nintendo Switch now 4 years after the system has launched is definitely hurting Bandai Namco's sales. Same thing goes for Tales of Arise. Tales of Vesperia, from what I understand, sold best or right near the best on the Nintendo Switch. So the fact that that game, Tales of Vesperia, sold the best or selling right up there at the top of the charts when it comes to a Tales game, that just goes to show you that you're probably going to lose out on millions of dollars at launch to people who wanted to play that experience anywhere that they want. Now, once again, I understand this is a big game. All these are big games that are in development for quite a while, and they weren't able to get the resources or allocation or manpower or get the team needed to get that done, to get it on time, just because they didn't plan for it. They didn't think that the Switch was going to be selling as fast as it is. So it's frustrating. I get that, but it's definitely understandable understandable. So when can we see these? I'd probably say next year. I think Code Vein is going to come probably in an announcement, maybe by this year, maybe by the end of this year, and then early next year we get that. And I think that these next two games, Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, will be sprinkled out throughout probably next year and maybe even like early the following year. So 2022 and 2023 is when I think that's going to happen. And I know that might be a bit disheartening, when it comes down to it, because, it's about a year or 2 years after the case. But at the same time, I mean, nothing's stopping you if you have the other platforms, you can play it on there. And then if you want, you can double dip, or you can just simply wait, because there's not a shortage of different games to play on the Nintendo Switch right now at this point, whether it's new games or whether it's ports or old games that are in your backlog or whatever the case is. There's plenty of different titles to play. So that would be kind of my advice that I'd give. I just wanted to give more of an understanding in terms of what's going on. Now, I'm not trying to let Bandai Namco off the hook. And like I said, I completely understand the frustration that's coming from some gamers out there. But at the same time, it's not like they're not trying to start porting over their games and getting caught up with things, right? They got 2 games that they came out this year with, and they've been supportive after they knew that they made that mistake. So that's all you can really ask for. Everybody makes mistakes at times, and Bandai Namco, a corporation or company or whatever the case is, they're not immune to that when it comes to it. So they made a mistake. They're trying to rectify it. They've got quite a number of games on there, and we should start seeing some of these other bigger games coming out probably within the next year or so. And on top of that, if the Nintendo Switch Pro also happens to be such a thing, maybe we even get enhanced versions of these games in terms of how they would run on the regular base Switch. But all of these games that I talked about that aren't there yet, Code Vein, Scarlet Nexus, Tales of Rise, they all run on Unreal Engine 4. So a good team could definitely get them ported over and still be playable when it comes down to it. So what are your thoughts on this when it comes to Bandai Namco? When do you see some of these games coming over? Would you like to play some of them? Did you already pick them up, or are you going to pick them up on other platforms? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.